What's a moment in your life where you felt completely at peace? I am extremely lucky that I have had this feeling. I know so many people around me have never and may never feel the bliss of feeling so peaceful in one's life. As short as the feeling lasted, it was not long enough. My moment was in 2007. I had just mowed the lawn for 6 hours and several beers. I built a fire, sat back, and looked into the Northern Ontario sky. I realized at that moment that I was happy, at peace, and did not want anything more in my life. I had spent the last 11 years building my business. My wife was amazing. I had 2 great dogs, 1 smart black cat, and everyone was healthy and happy.
Sounds like a nice moment. Just sitting there after all that work, taking in the sky and feeling content. It's cool when everything aligns like that: hard work, family, and pets. Brief moments of peace can really stick with you. Sometimes, it's the simplest things that bring the most joy.
Sensory deprivation flotation tanks require a bit of practice to lay perfectly still without getting salt water in your eyes. Once that happens, the mind is freed from gravity and other tasks required by the body. The feeling of your brain being liberated from your demanding physical body truly feels amazing.
I tried a flotation tank once. It was weird at first, trying to stay still. But once I got the hang of it, the sensation was different. Just floating, no distractions, no weight. You start to lose sense of time and space. It's like being in another state of mind. I ended up feeling really relaxed after that. Definitely worth a shot if you're into it.
Parents and I in a car. I was still in my teens. We were minutes away from home, and all 3 of us were singing to the song playing via the car's CD player. The song was Top of the World by, I think, the Carpenters, and I remembered thinking to myself, I don't think life could get any better than this.
That sounds like a nice memory. Being in the car with your parents, just enjoying the moment and singing together. It's those simple times that stick with you. You get to appreciate the little things in life, like a good song and good company. It's often the little moments that create the best feelings.
For me, it was during the labor of my wife. I felt so relaxed being off work for a while and focusing on something beautiful that is about to come, supporting her in these days and getting adjusted to the new situation. Also spending a lot of time back-to-back with her. I always remember that as such a nice period. We were of course lucky that everything went as it should go. So yeah.
That sounds like a really special time. Being there for your wife and preparing for a new chapter together must have felt great. It's nice how those moments can bring you closer and make everything else fade away for a bit. I can see why you'd look back on that with fondness. It's all about cherishing those connections and experiences.
Whenever I get out into nature with the camera and do a bit of photography, there are some moments, like in the film Walter Mitty, where I just stop, sit down, and just enjoy the scene in front of me. Don't bother capturing the moment through the lens. Just sit there instead and watch for a while.
That's a good vibe. I remember a time I went hiking with a camera in hand. I got to this amazing view and just sat there for a while. No pressure to take pictures, just soaking it all in. It felt peaceful, like the world slowed down a bit. Sometimes it's nice to just be present instead of always trying to capture everything.
Winters are really cold and bleak in the northern part of my state, but it actually stays pretty warm in the southern part. I hate the winter. It's cold, it's dark, we get a lot of overcast days, super depressing. One February when I was 13 or so, I went down south with a friend and her family. I was in between semesters at school, no homework to worry about, and I'd never experienced warmth in the winter. I just remember sitting in a recliner at the Airbnb while the sun shone on me through the window and being shocked at the sensation of being relaxed. It was like my body was hitting a reset button. I have not reached that level of peace and relaxation since El Mayo.
That sounds nice. Winter can really drag you down, especially with the cold and dark days. I remember one winter, too. Went to visit a friend in a warmer spot. We didn't do much, just sat around and soaked up the sun. It felt different, like all the stress melted away. Sometimes, just a little warmth can change everything. Definitely something I'd want to experience again.
Not depressing one. The other day, my kids, my girlfriend's kids, and my girlfriend all slept peacefully while I watched a movie. I noted to myself during what a nice moment it was to be in. Depressing one. Seasonal depression wipes me out every year, and I continue to function. But last year was reading a Reddit post about people's experience with dying, and several people noted there being absolutely nothing after. It was such an empty feeling, but at the same time fulfilling. I felt totally at peace with dying for a long while after it. I have had stacking health problems for years, including a lung transplant 2 years ago, so the subject is always relevant to me.
That first part about the kids is nice. It's good to have those calm moments with family. Watching a movie while everyone else is at peace can feel special. It's like you get to sit back and appreciate everything. The second part is a lot heavier. It's tough dealing with seasonal depression, and topics like dying can be really deep. Finding peace in that feeling is something, though.
After 2 bouts of burnout and a depression that no matter what my therapist and I did for treatment, including medication, noting touched it. I was in my 2nd year of pre-med, all my friends had transferred to other schools, and I was utterly alone. My therapist and parents were extremely scared that I was close to taking my own life, so they decided I should get a kitten. So that was my plan, but life had a different idea when I stumbled across an ad where an older gentleman begged for someone to adopt his 17-year-old deaf cat named Lucy, as he was going into a care home in 7 days, and if nobody adopted her, she would be put down. I couldn't bear that thought, so 2 days later, I picked up Lucy. That night she cuddled on my chest, and it was the first time in so long that I could remember feeling at peace. She's now almost 19, and I'm almost 21, and that same feeling comes over me every night when she cuddles on me.
It's a tough story, but it has a bit of hope in it. Dealing with all that loneliness, and then finding Lucy must have changed everything. Sometimes a pet can give you that sense of peace you weren't able to find elsewhere. It's nice to hear how much comfort she's brought you over the years. Sounds like you two have a solid bond now, especially since she's still around to cuddle with you.
I went out to Oxbow Park, found a deer trail, and followed it down to a secluded pebble beach along the Sandy River. I went into a shamanic journey/deep meditation, which in itself was incredibly healing. After about 45 minutes, I opened my eyes to see a bald eagle scoop a salmon out of the river, and I was surrounded by deer munching on greens and lapping water from the river. Perfection.
That sounds pretty cool. Just being out there, following the deer trail, and finding a quiet spot must have felt nice. The meditation part seems like a good way to recharge. Seeing a bald eagle up close is always a bonus. And having deer around you just adds to the whole vibe. Sounds like a perfect day in nature.
To be honest, it's often after a longer period of not intensely using the internet. One time was last year in January after my vacation in Thailand. Here I just traveled and walked a lot in the nature, and the other time is right now, where I've cut the usage of my phone to around 1 to 2 hours per day. I think it is the feeling of living in the moment, not being constantly available, doing something I always wanted to try, and all of this brings happiness and peace to me.
It sounds like taking breaks from the internet really helps with finding some clarity. I can relate to that feeling of being present and enjoying the simple things. When I disconnect, I notice more about my surroundings and have more meaningful experiences. It's refreshing to focus on things I've always wanted to do instead of scrolling endlessly. Those moments can really bring a sense of happiness and calm.
I grew up in Western Connecticut. Walking distance from my house, about half a mile/0.8 km. There was a huge open field with some of the best views as far as the eye could see. It really felt like you were on top of the world there. Nobody ever around, just me, my mother, and our dog. Red-winged blackbirds calling all throughout. Surreal. Sadly, my parents have since divorced and have moved to different parts of the state. My dog has passed away, and I live about an hour from there now. Every now and again, I still make a visit to that field, but now it is completely overrun by high school kids driving their trucks around and frankly destroying the place. Anytime there is a celestial event, can't even park there. Field is about 1 mile long, single road goes through it. That place was an integral part of my life, and it won't ever be the same. But being there growing up was complete peace.
It's tough seeing a place change like that. The field sounds peaceful, especially with those memories of your mother and dog. It's a shame when kids don't appreciate what was once such a nice spot. Visiting now must feel bittersweet. Even if the scenery shifts, those memories of calm will stick with you. It's like a part of you is tied to that place, no matter how different it is now.
Sensory deprivation flotation tanks. I came here to say the same thing. I spent 90 minutes inside, but it truly felt like a week. I got my wife a gift certificate to go back. And even though you said tank, mine was not truly a tank. Instead, it was inside a spa. It was a little in-ground pool, built into the floor, about 2.5 feet deep, and just wide enough so that if you outstretch your arms, you can't touch the sides. Basically big enough for you to spread your arms and legs and not touch a wall. It had walls and a door so that the pool was enclosed. If you turned off the lights, it was 100% pitch black. There's ambient music playing via an underwater speaker, and if you turned that off, it was 100% total silence. But if you were freaked out, you could leave the lights/music on. The water was the temperature where you barely even felt it, and the Epsom salts made you just float without even trying. Bliss. Utter bliss.
I tried a float tank once. It was something else. The silence and darkness really make you think. I remember feeling weightless, just floating there. It was a weird mix of calming and unsettling at first. I just lay back and let go. My friend was there too and said it was like a reset for his mind. It's odd how such a simple experience can feel so profound. Would do it again.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.